Original post from the now defunct Hallmarkaholic website forums. Does anyone remember this Hallmark movie? Posted by Gingerbread Woman 86 9/25/2020. I'm sitting here enjoying a lovely fall thunderstorm, and it was really making me feel nostalgic in a big way, but it did spark a memory for me that wasn't quite as pleasant, and I wondered if anyone could help shed some light on this for me. A little context: I am from Maine, and a few years back, we had the worst windstorm our state has ever experienced. I won't go into too much detail about the storm itself since a quick Google search will turn up plenty of information. Suffice it to say, it was bad. Now, I do love a good storm, and leading up to my husband and I eventually losing power, I had snuggled into my favorite hoodie and PJ bottoms, grabbed some hot cocoa, and invited our yellow lab up on the couch with me as I tried to find a good, cheesy romance movie on TV to lose myself in. Our reception wasn't the best, so I rescanned for channels and came across one I don't remember having seen before. It looked like it was playing Hallmark movies, and I love those, especially on rainy or cold days. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it just so happened to take place in a small town in Maine, and was probably something very generic and Hallmark sounding like a romance in Maine, or a very Maine affair, or something lol. I think I came in around the middle of the story, but it's never hard to fill in the missing details with these movies. The son of a wealthy real estate tycoon is sent to a small town in Maine to try to convince its residents to allow him to turn it into a commercial resort or something. He meets a lovely young woman who lives in the most adorable cottage connected to a lighthouse, with her widowed father, who is the lighthouse keeper, and they have a dog, of course, because Hallmark. Predictably, the daughter and the real estate tycoon's son end up having to work together for some delightfully contrived reason, and they end up butting heads the whole time, as she and her father have deep ties to the community and don't want to see it commercialized and ruined. Eventually, there's a town hall meeting where, despite the daughter's best efforts, the tycoon's son manages to get just enough votes to be able to move forward with his father's dastardly plans. As he prepares to fly back to whatever big city he's from, the town is hit by a huge storm, and his flight is cancelled. I'm sure you can guess where this is going. The lighthouse keeper, much to the chagrin of his fiercely justice-minded daughter, invites the young man to wait out the storm in their cottage, where his mind would inevitably be changed somehow. The young man would return to his greedy father, stand up to him by refusing to destroy the small town, and finally, he'd rush back to said town and would wed the lighthouse keeper's daughter. But alas, the happy ending we've been expecting is called into question when the lighthouse beacon stops working, and a small fishing boat, obviously crewed by many of the side characters we've grown to love so far, is in danger of losing its way and being dashed upon the rocky Maine coastline. At this point, the lighthouse keeper risks his life by climbing the old lighthouse while the storm rages and reignites the beacon. The crew cheers, but unbeknownst to them, the lighthouse keeper has been injured by a flying piece of debris from part of the lighthouse. The young man risks his own life to save the girl's father and brings him safely downstairs and lays him down on the couch, where he appears to be in a stable condition for now. Cue the hopeful Hallmark music that always starts playing at this point towards the end of all their movies. The daughter and the young man know that if the storm passes, they should be able to get her father to the hospital in time, and he will make a full recovery. This is where things started getting bizarre, and why this movie stuck out to me so much instead of fading away into the comfy place in my heart that every other Hallmark movie inevitably does. It's also why it's bothering me so much, and why I'm hoping that someone else out there remembers this movie. As the lighthouse keeper rests on the couch, and that hopeful Hallmark music plays in the background, the daughter leaves the room to grab her and the young man some hot cocoa. As she leaves the room, the lighthouse keeper calls the young man over to him, so only he can hear, tells him that the town is worth saving, and encourages the young man to stand up to his tycoon father in order to save it. I'm not sure how to express my shock when the young man is shown gently picking up a decorative pillow from the couch and smothering the old man. I remember that the lighthouse keeper breathes his last breath, and the young man returns the pillow to its original place on the couch right before the daughter returns with the hot cocoa. The young man lies to her and tells her that her father succumbed to his injuries, but that right before he passed. He told the young man that turning the town into a commercial resort was for the best. 2 hot cocoa mugs fall in slow motion and shatter on the ground as the daughter breaks down sobbing beside her deceased father on the couch. After a moment, she sniffs, wipes her puffy red eyes, gets up and climbs the stairs to the lighthouse beacon where, in the rain and the wind, she snuffs out the light. She then returns, completely soaked, sits down on the couch, breaks the 4th wall, and stares in a catatonic state right at the camera for the remaining 20 minutes or so of the movie, all while that hopeful music remains playing in the background on a loop. I remember sitting for a long time just staring at the screen and trying to comprehend what I was watching. The only other thing I remember was that there were a couple of brief cutaways of her dog growling and barking for some reason, and the small fishing boat now wrecked on the shore. I never saw the young man in any other scene after the woman initially climbs the lighthouse stairs and comes back down. He was just completely missing from the movie after that. At that point, we lost power in our own home due to the real-life storm raging outside, so I have no idea what happened after that. When our power was restored a couple days later, this was a big storm. As I am sure some of you remember, I tried to find that channel, but never could. I rescanned the channels with the TV remote, but could never find it. Please tell me someone remembers this movie and caught the name of it. Posted by Gingerbread Woman 869 30 2020. No one. Posted by Gingerbread Woman 86 10 5 2020. Update. I don't know why this came back to me just now, but maybe this extra detail will help jog someone's memory. I mentioned the scene with the dog, but that scene, in particular, has been coming back to me in more vivid detail lately. I remember it was when the woman came back down the stairs. In a daze, the dog seemed to sniff her suspiciously for a moment, and then backed itself into a corner and started growling and barking at her like it didn't recognize her and was scared of her. Posted by Gingerbread Woman 86 10 9 2020. Another update. I'm really starting to worry that no one on this forum seems to remember this movie. This is a super active forum, so surely someone has some idea. Another user side chatted me and asked if I was certain that it was a Hallmark movie that I saw and not some horror movie. I remember having the same thought while I was watching it. I'm sure I remember glancing at the corner of the screen and seeing that all too familiar Hallmark crown logo, but I also remember there being commercial breaks and seeing the Hallmark logo appear prominently on the screen with that magical golden swish. It was Hallmark. Since my first update, I remembered one other bizarre detail about the movie. I said before that the man was completely gone by the time the lighthouse keeper's daughter went up the lighthouse stairs and came back down. I now recall that wasn't quite true. I'm not sure how or why I am remembering this now, but I recall that he was in the background the entire time, just standing in the far corner of the room facing the wall, out of focus and motionless. In fact, the more I think about this, the more that one detail amid so many other weird details unsettles me the most. I even had a nightmare about it recently, where I was back on that couch watching that scene on repeat, all the while the tycoon's son was standing motionless in the corner of the room, with that upbeat Hallmark music playing in a loop. Posted by Gingerbread Woman 86 14 2021. Final update. Wow, it's been a little while, and I'm not sure how to begin. I see that my post has gotten a fair number of views since I originally made it, but I still haven't seen any replies. I recently brought it up in a conversation with my hubby. Originally, when I saw this movie, he had been in the other room playing a game on his computer. I do remember him occasionally passing through the living room on his way to the kitchen to grab drinks or snacks. I asked him if he had any memory of that night. He got very quiet, and I don't think I've ever seen him look that unsettled. This is how he remembers that evening going. He remembers me watching my Hallmark movie. Occasionally, like I mentioned, he got up and passed through the living room. He said he didn't pay close attention to what I was watching aside from the fact that it looked like any other Hallmark movie. According to him, he took a break from his game and suddenly noticed the house was very quiet. No TV, no me sipping on my cocoa, no panting from our dog, nothing. He said it was like something in the atmosphere had shifted, and there was this heaviness, or tension throughout the house. The tension was broken when our dog yelped and started going bonkers. He rushed in and said I was just sitting there on the couch staring at my reflection in the TV, which was now turned off, while our yellow lab was backed into the corner of the room opposite me barking and growling at me with her hackles raised. He quickly put the dog in the other room and tried to get me to snap out of it, but said I was softly crying and shaking like I was cold. At the same time, I was unblinkingly staring at the blank screen and I was completely unresponsive. He said, at first, he thought I was having one of my manic depressive episodes, but that something just seemed really off, and the dog's reaction to me really scared him. I have no memory of this happening, and I asked him why he never brought it up. His answer was that he tried to a couple of times right after I snapped out of it, but said that I turned to him blankly each time, whispering something like, "The man in the corner is finally gone," then smiled and acted like I didn't even hear his question. Learning all of this was alarming, as you might imagine, but the part that has worried me the most is that my husband paused after telling me all of this and admitted that he had been planning on bringing it up with me again. I've been whispering in my sleep the last few nights, and last night he was finally able to make out what I was saying. The man in the corner of the room is back. This post has been locked by the moderator 2/24/2021.